In this video, I'm going to be providing a summary of the results of our leadership survey and looking at some of the key facts and figures and also the key findings, the key learnings for you to take forward in your career. There's some really useful information here that is going to be helpful in helping you identify what you perhaps need to improve on and what is going to get you that promotion. But before I begin, just like to say thank you for everyone who participated in this survey. We had a fantastic response, over 500 participants. And despite the fact that the participants came from various different industries and also different levels, etc., it was really useful to see that the same sorts of results came out of those different participants. Regardless of their position, regardless of their industry, the same sorts of bits of information with regards to what makes a leader a good leader, what allows people to rise to those positions, was very much the same across the board. So regardless of where you work and the position you are currently in, this will be really useful information for helping you to get the promotion that you want and also the skills that you need to work on. Perhaps you're watching this video and something really sticks out at you. Oh, I don't do that. Or perhaps I'm not a good communicator. Or perhaps I haven't worked on my leadership skills. Perhaps I am too inwardly focused and various things like that. Perhaps you'll notice those and realize you need to work on those. And perhaps that is what has been holding you back. And you might also be asking yourself, well, is this actually going to be useful for me? Well, based on the survey, one of the questions was, what were your career ambitions? And over 75% of the people that responded wanted to be a CEO or a CFO, so two of the very highest positions within an organization, or a finance director or another kind of director, or just a more senior financial role such as a financial controller. We can see that on the pie chart on the left hand side of the screen. In fact, most people wanted to be in a senior position within an organization. And regardless of which one of these positions you want to be, whether you want to be a CEO or a financial director or a financial controller, they all require some of the same sorts of skills. They require the ability to think big. They require the ability to be a good communicator, etc. So for most of you, this will be a really important video because most of you want to be in a senior position. So let's progress and look at some of the most important questions that were asked in the survey and the results of them. Starting with considering your current CFO or director or manager, etc. What are the 3 attributes that make them a great leader? And we had a list of potential options, and there's also the option to write in your own responses. And so what we can see is that certain ones have come out a lot. For example, strategic thinking. 65.5% of people that responded to this survey said that one of the main attributes that made their CFO, made their director, made their manager a great leader was strategic thinking. And strategic thinking might be one of those things that you feel is just something people have or they don't have. But there are ways to improve your strategic thinking. There are ways to improve your ability to think outside the box. And one of those is to be ambitious. Think not just what could be an incremental improvement, but what could be a substantial improvement. Think about the organization as a whole rather than the tiny specific point that you are working in, the specific department you are working in, and think about how the organization as a whole could improve. And that's how you start developing your strategic thinking skills, your ability to see things that others don't, your ability to think about things that perhaps have been tried but haven't been tried in the right way, etc. Another important thing that came out of this was communication. If we look at the bottom of this table here, 41.5% of people said that their leader, their director, etc., was a great communicator. But it's not just about this specific result here of a great communicator, but also the ability to motivate, which is 25.6%, the ability to influence, which is 32.2%, their ability to network as well, to talk to others, to communicate with others in general. So all of these things ultimately relate to communication, to being a good communicator. And something that people often say is, well, to be a director, to be senior, you have to know the right people. And they use it in a very negative sense, as in they're probably friends with them, they probably went to school with them, etc. But one way of this is also looking at it in a positive sense. Perhaps it isn't that they just went to school with them. Perhaps they met them at an event. Perhaps they just know a lot of people because they put themselves out there, because they communicate. If you find yourself at a conference and you're standing in a corner with your two colleagues that you work with day in, day out, just having a conversation, maybe that's the reason why you have not been made a manager, why you have not been made a director, because you are not a good communicator. You are not communicating with others. You're not putting yourself out there. Perhaps what you should be doing, rather than speaking with the people that you hang out with every day at work, is making sure you communicate with every person in that room. Make sure you introduce yourself to every person in that room. Make sure you make contacts. Make sure you begin relationships with other people in different organizations, etc. That you are putting yourself out there. And that could be crucial in developing those contacts, developing those relationships that are going to allow you to improve as a professional. What's also interesting to note here is that some of the things that people say are what makes their leader a great leader might be the ones that you just assume a great leader will have, yet they're actually quite low. For example, organizational skills, 15.3%. Just general intelligence, 16.9%. They think you don't need to be intelligent to be a great leader. Occupational knowledge, which you might think is a given. Surely if they're working in a particular industry, for a particular company, they have a lot of knowledge about that job, that role, that industry, etc. But only 1 in 5 people actually felt that was a reason that made their director, made their manager a great leader. So what this does mean is, if you don't perhaps have the general trait of very high intelligence or the general trait of organizational skills, or you haven't worked in an industry for a particularly long time, that doesn't mean that you are not going to make a great leader within that field. Because what we can see from all these people that have responded from these different industries is those are not very, very critical parts of being a great leader. It's actually the ability to think strategically, the ability to communicate, and also motivate and influence, general leadership skills, etc. Those are actually the 3 things that are most important. Just because that other person is slightly more intelligent than you doesn't mean they're going to get the job. Just because that person has been working at this company in this industry for a few more years and knows a bit more about the job, knows a bit more about the role, doesn't automatically mean they are going to get that leadership job ahead of you. So there are things here that you can actually work on. You can work on your ability to communicate. You can work on your ability to lead. You can work on your ability to think strategically. And as we can see, these are the things that make leaders good leaders. On to the next question. What are the top 3 reasons why people in your organization get promoted to senior roles? So not just a case of what makes them a good leader now they're in the senior role, but how did they get there? But what we can see is there is a link to what also makes them a good leader. We can see good communication skills, 36.9%, a good networker, their ability to make relationships, to build contacts, relationships, etc., 35.4%. Their general leadership skills, their ability to motivate, their ability to influence, 47.7%. And these are definitely skills that you can hone. These are definitely skills that you can learn. There's so many books available on how to improve your leadership skills. And they are all going to have lots of useful information about the ways in which you can improve those leadership skills. And also stay tuned, because over the next few weeks, over the next few months, etc., we are going to be producing lots of content on things that's going to help you with your leadership skills. It's going to help you with your communication skills. Also, proven results as well. So once you have got the opportunity to produce evidence of your ability, if you are providing results, you are getting results, those are really useful things to help you progress. And also, this just means that proven results at the company doesn't mean proven results as a director, as a leader, because these are the reasons why people get promoted to these roles. So within your remit, your current remit, you can provide proven results. Make sure people know, make sure people are aware of what you have done and what the result has been. And these are also things that can help you get promoted. And also the length of service, 25.4%. So it's not the lowest one, but it's certainly not the highest one. So again, going back to the argument that I made in the first point, was occupational knowledge and things like that are not necessarily the thing that's going to get you the promotion. So it shouldn't hold you back if you think that you are junior, think that you haven't got the experience that others have. And another point to mention here is that pragmatic was only down at 10%. So your ability to adapt and change to all the different environments and situations, etc., which people might think is a really important trait and something that is going to help get you promoted, is not considered to be a key reason. And the reason for that is because generally someone that will get promoted to these positions, someone that is a natural leader, someone that's very dynamic, very strategic, they will have a lot of self-confidence. They have a lot of self-confidence in themselves and in their beliefs and in their opinions, in what they are trying to do. And being pragmatic is often the opposite of that. Being pragmatic is just adapting to whatever new information comes in, rather than being secure and determined in your opinion. So you've got an idea, someone says, no, that's probably not a good idea because of this. If you're pragmatic, you might think, okay, well, we'll adapt it slightly. If you are really committed to yourself and you have a lot of self-belief, you'll say, right, okay, I hear your opinion, but I'm still sure that this is going to work. So perhaps being very self-confident, being determined, sticking by your guns is really important in getting that promotion. And that's often why people will have proven results, is because they didn't let the doubters get in the way of them. They stuck to it and they got the results. Now, on to the top 3 reasons why people in your organization fail to get promoted to senior roles. So people who have perhaps worked at the organization for a while and they just have never got to that level. And again, what's interesting is it does correlate to some of the other questions that we have already answered, some of the results that we have seen. It's very much the opposite of it, in a sense that it does comply. The lack of drive, the lack of confidence, 42%. So we're saying about people who aren't determined, they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in their ideas, are people that do not get promoted. And almost half the people that answered this survey felt that these were 2 of the biggest reasons why people don't get promoted. Poor communication skills, almost half the people who answered this survey said that poor communication skills were the reason, or one of the reasons, why people do not get promoted. So going back to what we were saying earlier about leadership skills, strategic thinking, communication skills being really crucial, we now see more proof of this because people who do not lead well, people who do not have confidence, people who do not have good communication skills are not getting promoted. And you can tie in with that things like difficult to get on with. If you're difficult to get on with and you're too inwardly focused, you just want your own success, you're not focusing on the team, you're not focusing on the company, then you are not getting promoted. And also, lack of knowledge and lack of qualifications is not a particularly high score either. It's reasonably high, but again, it shouldn't be something that you think is holding you back just because you don't have the knowledge. As long as you have drive, you have confidence, you have good communication skills, you are putting yourself at a good position for getting a senior role. Now, what that means for you is that if you're looking at this and thinking, well, I don't have good communication skills, I often have lapses in confidence, etc., then those are the things that you need to work on if you want to achieve those roles. Now, on to another question. And this question was, what do you consider to be the top 3 reasons why a financial manager or a director is likely to be recruited into a new role? So we're not necessarily talking about their individual traits now, we're just talking about perhaps the more broader sense of why they would be promoted, why they would be appointed to a new role, a new senior role. And a whopping 70.3% said previous experience. Now, the question did not say previous experience as in they already were a director, they already were a manager, they just have some proven experience that they are ready for that role. So don't look at that and think, well, how do you get to be a director? If 70% of you think that the only way of getting to be a director is to already be a director in another role, you must get there at some point. People aren't just coming out of university and becoming directors at large organizations. But by previous experience, what we mean here is a proven experience at achieving results, or when you have perhaps been given a project, you've proven that you can manage that project effectively. So it doesn't just have to be previous experience in a director role. You don't think you need director experience. You can use any opportunity to showcase your leadership skills, any opportunity to showcase your ability to provide results. And other ones that are big here is leadership skills. So again, tying back with that ability to motivate, that ability to influence people and to convince people of what you are saying. Again, these are all skills that can be learnt. You are not just born someone who is going to be an amazing leader. Of course, there are natural leaders, but it's not something that you could yourself learn. Also, professional qualifications is a very good reason why people are promoted, because it demonstrates knowledge, it demonstrates commitment to achieving something, to seeing something through to the end. If you look at directors on LinkedIn and lots of different places like that, often you'll see all sorts of letters after their name. It'll be person X, and then it will be CIMA, CMI, CFA, MBA, MSc, all these sorts of qualifications that they have got, both academic and professional, but 63% versus 13.3% felt that professional qualifications were more important than academic qualifications. So perhaps if you do not have a professional qualification, or you only have one, then perhaps you should be looking to get some more to improve your knowledge and also to demonstrate that you have that knowledge and also commitment to achieving results. And only 7.2% of people felt the length of service was important. So again, we're getting over that block of you have to have experience, you have to have been at the company for a long time, etc. You have to know the company, know the industry. That is not a reason. Just because someone knows a lot about the company doesn't mean they're automatically going to be a great director of it. And again, some other points here relating to confidence and communication being important. So we can summarize some of the key learnings here, being that making sure you think big picture and teaching yourself how to think outside the box is very, very important. And developing leadership skills as well, learning about different leadership styles, learning about how you can apply them in your workplace is very, very important. Believing in yourself and your own abilities and making sure you stick with it. You're not just jumping from one idea to the next just because there was a minor roadblock, etc., is very important. Gaining professional qualifications and working on your ability to communicate, your ability to build relationships, to build contacts, etc., is very important. And based on the survey, based on these results, we are going to be building more of the information that we're going to be providing to you based on these key learnings as well. So do keep an eye out for videos and various different newsletters where we're going to explore how you can develop your leadership skills, how you can think big picture, how you can work on your own communication as well. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you have enjoyed this short video and there are some tips here that you can take away. I do advise you all to really reflect on yourselves and reflect on these key learnings here. And do you communicate as well as you could? Do you believe in yourself? Do you really stick to your guns and do you really drive things forward within the workplace? Do you have those leadership skills, those ability to gel a team together, the ability to work with everyone effectively? And are you putting the team first as well? One big difference between someone who is a true leader and someone who is a manager is someone who puts the team first. They're not just in it for their own success. So do reflect on that and do perhaps let us know your own thoughts as well, and do ask us if there's anything you would like to work on, anything you would like to see. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again very soon.